everyone, welcome back to part 2 of the book wall decor project. Let's go ahead and jump right back in. Okay, this is about 48 hours later, but this was dry in my environment in about 12 to 16 hours. So it just depends on the climate you're in. Also I had a fan on there that I think helped. So this is all nice and dry. So yet again we're going to get this wet with hot water and put it on there for 10 minutes. I want to make sure I get it in that crease very nicely too. There's not actually any print in there, so it's not a huge deal, but if you're doing this and you have print in the crease, you definitely want to make sure that you get that in there. So the whole point is to get the paper nice and very thoroughly soaked in the areas where you have the content that you actually want to keep. So for me, that's just images on one side and some text on another side that takes up about this space. So I don't have to be too careful, but just something to think about if you had something in the crease that you need to be worried about. Alright, so we just wait 10 minutes. Okay, so I've left this on there for about a half hour. I'm not quite sure why there's white there, but I guess we'll kind of figure that out as we go. So I'm going to go ahead and start taking it off from this side, because I think this side's going to be just fine. So let's kind of see what this white does. And oh yeah, that's coming off. I don't know, maybe the glue was just a little bit thicker there. The Mod Podge was just a little bit thicker. Could be. So just keep kind of wiping this off here. And I don't know if you can see this, but there's a little bit of a white film there, and that's why in the videos that you'll watch that are more in depth on this process online, oh shoot, look, we lost a T right there. I might have to just color that in with a marker or a pen. Not exactly sure why that happened. If you guys know why that happened, let me know in the comments. So let's put this up to the camera so you guys can see. There is a, you are not a cow, you are a cow. So I may be able to just fix that with marking it in with a pen. I don't think I attacked it too hard, but that's why you want to be gentle. So here's a boundary. Here's with nothing. There was no Mod Podge here. Nothing stuck. Bring this up here. Nothing stuck here. So it's just bare wood that's a little bit wet. And here's where the white paper came over. So this is good for you guys to see kind of what you're getting yourselves into. So I was thinking about sanding and kind of making a gradient that runs into these letters. And then same thing with the photo side. Oh wait, let's try this. Let's try peeling it because I have an edge here. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. That might have saved me a couple of minutes right there. So because I had an edge hanging over, I can kind of peel it off. I'm not going to be too choosy. Oh, look at that. Wow. That looks great. That just peeled right off. So maybe what you want to do is leave a little bit of an edge that you can peel off. Let's try peeling off from this side. Let's see if we can be careful and preserve the paper. It's going to kind of tear where it wants to tear, it looks like. But that's a lot easier than scraping off. Wow. We do have a Mod Podge edge here too. That's actual glue. So I am going to have to sand this down back to bare wood. Now because you don't want to scrub too hard, you can see especially on the letters, I lost a little bit of my T's in the kitten. We lost that half of the O and all of the T in not a cow. You definitely don't want to scrub too hard. Luckily I have not lost a whole lot from my photo. I lost a little bit right here in the nest, but that's okay because it's going to look a little bit rustic. So what the trick is, as far as I've seen, is that you're supposed to just gently rub off what you can and then repeat this process with the wet rag again and let it sit for another 10, 15, 20 minutes, and then the rest of the paper should come off. And usually it takes about 3, sometimes even 4 passes before all the paper comes off nice and gently and happily, and then all that's left behind is the image, and you don't really have to fight for it. I'm not really crazy about this glue that's set in here in this knot, but that's just maybe in the future I wouldn't choose a piece of wood that has a knot right there, because I'm just going to have to live with there being glue in the middle of the image. But anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and get this wet, and we'll keep trying over again. Alright, let's see how round 2 looks after another probably 20 minutes or so. So I think first I'm going to try to attack this. This is not the waterproof glue. I'm using Mod Podge, and I don't believe it's waterproof. But it doesn't look like that glue's coming out anymore. So I'm just going to lightly pass with the grain of the wood. Let's see what else I can get off. It looks like, you know what, maybe we reached the threshold of what's going to come off even with just the first round. Because I'm not seeing a whole lot come off. So I think what we're going to do next is I'm going to just use some sandpaper. I don't want to take any power tools to this because they're going to be way too aggressive. And I'm just going to sand and smooth out the difference from where this paper was left over into the actual natural wood, and hopefully get what looks like a nice smooth gradient. There's also there's Mod Podge glue that's right here that's going to have to come off, and the same thing down here because that's where the squeeze out was. I'm going to have to fill in these parts with a pen probably. Off camera I realized that with this still wet I could kind of scrape off a little bit of the glue out of this knot. So I just got a paper towel wet so I can just kind of localize where that is, and I'm just going to let it sit there for a little bit while I'm doing the rest of this, and hopefully maybe I can scrape out the glue so that there's not a bunch of glue sitting in my knot. I was thinking that would be a nice pretty feature there, but anyway, for the rest of it I lied. I'm going to use a power tool. I'm going to use my Dremel just to take off. There's a big old fat cross section of glue right here, and then also on this side here. So I'm going to try to gently take down that glue with the Dremel. Really all I want to do is take off the big old bulk of glue that was that big old ledge, and you can see it's already gone. So, and then over here, a little bit of this. So here's a nice ridge that's going on. I'm going to take that down. And then I've got some 220 grit, and I'm just going to kind of work here in the transition. Again, always with the grain. Always sanding with the grain. To try to smooth out that transition from the leftover paper to the bare wood. Keep in mind, right now that looks a lot lighter, if you can see. This looks a lot lighter because it's wood that's been sanded away. This is the surface wood that's still kind of wet. It also has some paper residue on it and glue, Mod Podge residue on it. But that's going to normalize and even out a little bit as the surface of the wood dries out. So the 150 was not, or the 220 wasn't doing very well. So I switched to 150, but I wasn't being careful. I was sanding like this, and I sanded off the mother's face a good bit. So you got to be careful. Just be more careful than I am. And sand over here. I am going to try to maybe draw in that line just to make it a little bit more. I think that's on the boundary of between rustic looking and garbage looking. But I'm just trying to, right now I'm just trying to blur this line between where the Mod Podge was and where the bare wood is. And I think we're getting somewhere with that. So 150 grit seems to be working a lot better. Okay, now I am no artist, but I am going to try to fix my mistake by drawing this in. It looks pretty good. Luckily I have the negative here from when we did this other piece, so I kind of know what it needs to look like. Okay. That's pretty bold, and it's starting to bleed. Shoot. Well, what I am going to do is over here try to fix what we did here. Not a kitten. Maybe I should be using a different pen. Not. You guys see that? Not a cow. Yeah, well, who knows? I may have just committed the apocalypse with this, but I'm going to let this ink dry, and then I'll do another session of wet rag. Who knows, maybe that'll take up some of this also and kind of normalize it out. Shoot, well, a lot of this channel is trying to learn how to fix your mistakes, and here's one that I just made. Okay, it's been about a week or so, and I've just been tied up with other things and decided to just press forward with this project. I don't think it's terribly noticeable when you first take a look at it, so I decided to just move forward. I'm really hoping that this doesn't smear right now. I'm trying to get the last little remnants of the white paper off. So this has been soaking for 10 minutes again. And we're going to see how it goes. It's smearing a little bit. It had about a week to dry, so fingers crossed that we don't set ourselves back too far. And you know what I also noticed is that when I just kind of walked up to it, I didn't notice this as much. I kind of know where to look to see these flaws, but I don't think they're incredibly apparent to just anybody who's just walking along and taking a look. So I'm not getting a whole lot more off of this. I was kind of hoping that a little more of the stuff would come off. I'm wondering if that's about as good as it's going to get, because if I scrub any harder, I'm going to start losing the image just like I did over here. And I'm going to start losing my letters just like I did over here. So that may be about as good as it's going to get. So hopefully, when I spray on the clear coat, I notice that you can see right through it when it's damp. When it's dry, you can't so much, so I don't know, maybe having the clear coat on there will make it permanently clear, I hope. But I really don't want to go back to the drawing board. Christmas is getting close, and I'd like to get this thing done. So I think I'm going to call that good. So this needs to dry. I also need to put the paint along the edges here and the back. So I think once this dries out enough for me to mask off, then I'm going to go ahead and paint it tonight and let that dry, and then I'm going to clear coat the whole thing. This is dry enough up here, so I'm going to go ahead and just start masking using painter's tape. I want to make sure that we're getting paint only where our back of the book would be. So like this, and not on where the pages would be. Actually, it looks like our color match is looking gorgeous. Thank you, Home Depot. They have some kind of crazy machine that just, you give them whatever color and they throw it under there and it can match your color perfectly. So there's our first coat, and we'll let this dry. It's been at least an hour now, so our first coat has dried pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and apply our second coat. This project has had its little challenges here and there, but I think overall it's going to be a win. Alright, it's been about 24 hours, so let's go ahead and take a look, see how it turned out. Okay, paint looks pretty good. Go ahead and get rid of these little guys. And carefully peel off the tape. We don't have a whole lot of thickness here to go into for when our piece goes in, or when we put our backer on. So I didn't want to have to worry about that. I did find these little itty bitty screws, which are going to be just fine. So the problem is that this is a little bit, these holes are a little bit too small for this. So all we got to do is drill that out. Okay, the reason I went with one of these is instead of just like some simple hanger is that with this kind of curvature, it's very likely that this is going to be off balance. It's not going to be perfectly balanced, and I'm not going to be able to find that center point very easily. So this will give you an option to hang it in a couple different spots. So now we need to decide where we want it. I think right about there is pretty good. And definitely want to drill some pilot holes, because the last thing I want to do is make a split in this. I'm just going to do some very shallow pilot holes here. I do want to eventually attach these, but I need to spray this with the finish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one of these screws in. Just put it in enough just to kind of have a good grip there. And I'm going to hang it from this piece when I spray it. So it'll be kind of like that. So that way I can spray everywhere. Make sure we didn't come out the other side. That would be a nightmare. Nope, we are fine on this side. Cool. So the very last thing I want to do is I picked up a set of these rubber feet. I'm going to put them down here. One right there. So this way when you hang it on the wall, it's not going to want to like hang from here and like kind of be tilted towards the wall. These rubber bumpers kind of even it out so that it sits pretty flat against the wall. So okay, I think we are about finished, guys. This turned out really nice. Let's throw it on the wall just for giggles and see how it looks. There we have it. There's our final product. So here's the actual book. Here's our project hanging on the wall. And it turned out exactly like I wanted it to. That white isn't really showing through that much. You can definitely see the wood grain here. So the color match on the piece of the book is actually very, very perfect. The picture came out really great. You really can't notice where I had to fill in that much. I really couldn't be more happy. If you guys are going to do this project, you've seen where the hurdles came from and where you could maybe take a little extra care. That's what this whole video series is about. My whole channel is all about me making mistakes, and hopefully you can learn from them. So let me know what you guys would do differently, because if I'd like to do this again, I'd always benefit from your input. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.